The only point that I'd make is that obviously this is a draft departmental document. It's been shared with other departments, as I'm advised, and the document hasn't even been to my office. So in the normal course of events, the way in which these things would proceed is that a draft document, after other agencies had had their input, the draft document would then come up to my office. We would make changes, make additions, subtract pieces that we weren't happy with, and the final document then would go to Cabinet. But just to put it into perspective, this document hasn't even made it in its first iteration to my office. The other point that I would make, though, is the government's approach is not only to make sure that we have secure borders, and all Australians want us to have secure borders. We don't want the people smugglers to recommence. But at the same time, we have been able to increase the number of refugees that we've welcomed to our country, both through the United Nations High Commission and also through the Special Humanitarian Program. So the number of refugees that Australia will take this year is 13,750. That grows over the next couple of years to 18,750. And in addition to that, as you know, we've announced that we'll take 12,000 people from Syria and Iraq, both war-torn countries. If there is a debate about how we should screen people coming into our country, the government doesn't make any apology for that. We are going to be tough in terms of the screening processes because we want to afford refuge to those people who are genuine refugees, and people see on the television screens every night now what is happening across Europe, across the Mediterranean, and in this country we have an orderly migration process. Order has been restored to our borders, and we can at the same time have a compassionate approach to take a record number of refugees, and we're not going to take a backward step in relation to that.
Well, refugees that gain Australian citizenship be monitored more closely than other Australians who are born here, as the document suggests?
Well, as I say, I don't have any other comment to make in relation to what was a draft departmental document. The point that I would make is that we want to keep Australians safe. My responsibility as the Immigration Minister is to make sure that in the millions of movements of people across our borders each year, that we are not bringing people into our country that are going to pose a risk to men, women and children across the country. This is a very serious time for our country, for Western democracies, and as we've seen in Europe, people will pretend to be refugees when they're not. The vast majority of people are refugees and in need of assistance, and we will conduct the proper screening processes so that we can welcome those people. The other aspect to it, of course, that many people need to be reminded about, I think, that I've heard comment on this morning, is that if we take people that aren't legitimate refugees, then we displace somebody who is. And this is something we're very conscious of as we're trying to provide support for people coming out of Syria and Iraq at the moment.
Can you explain the meaning of an enforceable immigration framework?
Well, again, I don't have any further comment to make in relation to the draft departmental document.
There were some serious concerns about what that might mean. It will come to you at some stage. You must have thought about it.
Well, I just refer you back to my earlier comment. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Peter Dutton there speaking in Maroochydore on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Very briefly about that leak that the ABC has obtained of a draft document suggesting some tough changes to the way refugees are handled.